Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Miller Motorsports Park. We're in Tooele, Utah. Up first will be the 944 Spec Series race. This is the NASA National Championships. There's a look at your top 10.
James Fox is going to start on pole, with Norman Hamden starting second, David Dirks third, Charles Buzetti fourth, and Austin Newmark will start fifth.
Joseph Pollock second and sixth. Charles Taylor will follow in seventh. Todd Emwold in eighth. Evan Bell in ninth, and Steve Augustin in 10th. That's your starting order. There is 34 cars out here, though. Ken Stout, Clark Cameron sitting right alongside. This is an incredible class. Talk about competition, as all these guys are about the same. The green flag flies. We are racing here on the outer loop at Miller Motorsports Park. They fan out some 4 and 5 wide, baby. Here we go.
Oh, this is great racing, Ken. 944 Spec, not a huge class last year, but this year these guys have really shown up. Huge field, and I expect some really close racing here as they head into turn one.
It's very, very affordable. That's what makes this such an attractive class. And right off the bat, through the first turn in the lead, Norman Hamden with a 99 car. And this is a very, very fast section of the track. Both of these turns, long, wide arcing turns. As they come up here in the turn number 3, they call it scream, because you're pretty much screaming in the seat of your pants right now as they head down into Black Rock Hairpin.
And it looks like Joseph Pollock got a really good start moving into second. Really the big loser there was James Fox, who started on pole, and looks like he's fallen all the way back to fourth.
As you can see, that hairpin right there really widens out, and it opens up for a great passing zone. And then the exit of that turn also is very wide, so we'll see a lot of overtaking happening right there.
And Neil Hamden still has a good lead, although Pollock's starting to close up a little bit here. And this is going to be key, Ken, because I think these cars are so equal. They're a little bit lower horsepower car. I think it's going to be really hard to break away from the pack. So it should be interesting to see who drafts, who sort of hooks up with each other, and maybe if these top two cars hook up, if they can break away from the rest of the pack.
Okay, they just went through what they call witchcraft. Now they're coming into the attitudes. A fair amount of elevation changes. Rumble strips on the inside right there are very aggressive. Here comes Pollock, though. Pollock taking a look on the inside. It seems as though his car is handling a bit better, and he's going to make the pass.
Now we'll see if Hamden can do a crossover and move back on the inside. That's also allowed that red car of Dirks to close up.
Yeah, he's coming. Take a look. He's still on the inside. And he does have position. Is he going to get it back? He does. Oh, maybe not, man. This is a great battle here early on.
And this is exactly what those guys back in 5th, 6th, 7th want. They want to see the front row battling so that these guys don't pull away. They're able to close up and, maybe challenge for a lead later on in the race.
That's the final turn of the first lap. They call that release. It's wind up. It's a long right-hander right back into a left-hander. That's called release down this incredibly long straightaway.
On board with Norman Hamden, and we could see that that battle side by side. Hamden sort of decided to back off in that last corner, and Pollock didn't get a good run off of there. Maybe overcooked that last corner a little bit, and that's allowed Hamden to draft up, and looks like he's going to take the lead back.
Yeah, and that's a great call there, Clark, because that last turn is critical. You need to run it good to add that 1 or 2 mile per hour at the other end, so that whenever you get down there, you can actually make a pass. And you can see he's really stretched it out. Good horsepower there for the number 99 car of Hamden.
And one of the guys we haven't talked about too much is Agustin. He started back in 10th. He's that white car with blue racing stripes on it, and he's all the way up into 5th. So real good run for Agustin at this point.
I'll tell you something all these guys had to work on. Everybody out here for the championships this weekend at this very large track is aero. Everybody was trying to find some sort of advantage with aero because the straightaway is so long here, you can take advantage of it.
That's right. You could see some cars running 3 wide a little bit farther back. All of these guys having a great battle, and it looks like probably the top 20 cars are all still bunched together. So, again, really close racing in 944 Spec.
You can also see a good pile of dust in the background. You dip a wheel off here, and it is poof, man. I mean, we're basically in the desert. You can see behind you the huge mountains, but this is basically in a valley, a beautiful setting, no doubt about it. But if you dip a wheel off, man, it is instantaneous dust. Here we go again. This is definitely the driver's section of the course.
It's right up through the S's there. They call them the attitudes. And it's actually interesting, Ken, you mentioned the dust, talking with these guys at Miller earlier in the week. They said they've had a lot of rain here, and they said even a little bit of grass like you see now, there's a little bit of green around the track. That's actually unusual for them this time of year, so that's helped cut down on the dust a little bit.
And it looks like we've got a pass here. Taking a look anyways there. The red car.
That was Dirks. Still running in third, but trying to challenge for second. And you can see Fox, our pole sitter, still lurking back there in fourth.
Dirks a little wide on the exit of that turn. Is going to hurt his apex on the entry here of release onto that long straightaway, which you spoke of before. That is a critical section of this track. David Dirks out of the Rocky Mountain region.
Yeah, keying on Dirks and Fox. Fox, I'm sure, a little bit frustrated after starting on pole, falling back now. And I'm sure he's anxious to get back in the front.
So the top four guys pretty much nose to tail, then a little bit of separation as you get back to 5th, 6th, 7th. Great battle going on there. It's exactly what we expected. And the one that kind of caught my eye was Hamden. Hamden struggled there on lap 1, but lap 2, the car looked a little bit faster. And I've got to think at some point the tires started building pressure, probably started off a little bit on the low side, wanting to build those things up to where the optimum temperature and pressure will be. And now it looks as though the car has come in nicely.
Absolutely. Everybody here running a Spec Toyo tire, so everybody's got the same rubber on the car. And certainly, being a Spec class, they're somewhat limited on what they can do with setup. So tire pressure and sort of the small things really matter when you're dealing with the Spec class.
And Pollock taking a look on the inside there at Hamden. Not going to have enough, though, this time around.
One of the guys that's really on the move right now is Buzetti. Started, I think, 4th or 5th, kind of dropped back the first couple of laps, but maybe what we were talking about where you set up your car to come in at the end, Buzetti is starting to come on, starting to move forward, just made a pass for 5th.
Yeah, and there's absolutely something to that. Keep in mind, temperatures here have been in the triple digits pretty much all week long, so it gets very hot, and you do have to kind of guess where this thing's going to come in. Now, granted, these guys have had a lot of track time, so they should have a pretty good feel for how long it takes for these cars to come in, but more importantly, how long do they stay in before they start to go back out?
That's right. It's kind of an unusual format here, Ken, as we see another attempt for second. It's like Dirks is going to make that one stick.
Yeah, Dirks with a lot of speed right there with Pollock. Very nice move. He made it look easy, which is very tough to do in this Spec class.
And you can see that we see this consistently. Somebody will make a pass, and then they overcook the next corner, lose speed, and you can see Dirks move over and try and block. It doesn't look like it's going to work, though. Pollock challenging on the outside.
And Dirks still going to have position right here. He should be able to hold on to it. And Pollock trying to pinch him down. Now this is going to upset the apex here for Pollock. We'll see if Dirks can get back around him.
And the big winner here may be Fox, who's sitting back in the catbird seat in 4th place. Fox may get a really good run on both of these coming down this long straightaway.
And sure enough, here comes Dirks. Dirks taking a look on the outside. Fox right behind him.
It's kind of like Daytona where these guys, you sort of pick your drafting partner and try and push him down the straightaway. Looks like Fox has picked Dirks, and we'll see if they can both get by Pollock by the end of the straightaway.
Fox is saying, come on, baby, let me hang on here. Let me hang on. Stay in tow. And the thing is, Dirks is going to hang on to that position to keep the bottom side of that turn open.
Man, still side by side, little bit of a wheel off for Pollock as he came out of that corner, still hanging on though, and he's going to have the inside going into turn 2.
That's what makes it so much fun right there. That's why these guys love this class. Great side by side action, man. You have the ultimate and pucker factor, if you will.
That's right, and it's cool to see these guys are all giving each other room. There isn't dirty driving. I haven't seen anybody touch bumpers once, as we see Buzetti making it 3 wide for a moment.
Yeah, Buzetti with a great run. Is he going to get a 2-for-1 hit right here? No. He is going to get on the inside, though. We'll see if he can hang on to the spot. He's going to have to give up a little bit.
And again, Buzetti really coming on, still back in 5th, but he is caught up with the second group and really challenging now, trying to get into 4th, moving his way up the field.
Yeah, Fox is right there in front of Buzetti, and Fox, who was trying to overtake, now has his mirrors full, needless to say, so now he goes on the defense.
That's right, and Fox has got to be thinking, you have to work together, we have to be patient. A lot of times when you get in a race like this and there's a lot of lead changes, a lot of passes, it's easy for everyone to sort of lose touch of the fact that the leader is slowly inching away. We can see that Hamden's starting to stretch out that lead because all these guys are fighting. And as a driver, sometimes you have to settle down a little bit and choose to work together and sort of, make friends for a few laps so you can catch back up to the leader.
And you mentioned it before, it's so hard to make up ground in this class because all the horsepower ratings are so close. Hamden doing a great job, which means he's driving every turn, every lap perfect. If he can maintain that consistency, it's going to be very difficult for these guys to catch him.
Absolutely, and I think the challenge for Hamden, too, is to make sure he doesn't overheat his tires, he doesn't overuse his brakes. You got to maintain that lead, but you also have to be consistent, and you have to save a little bit because this is a long race. We talked a little bit about format. These guys actually run 2 sprint races to set the field for this final, and those races are a little bit shorter. So this is a longer race, and sometimes it's hard to remember that you got to save that car all the way through 16 laps.
The other thing those guys back there in second, third, fourth need to do, and they know this, the problem is they're racers, and the racer mentality is to pass the guy in front of you. But if they are to calm down, just stay in line and use the draft, they could start picking back away at Hamden.
That's right. Now keying on Hamden, way out front, started second, challenged early by Pollock, but now has a nice lead. See there, Pollock about 5 car lengths back, and you can see that now Pollock isn't challenged. He's sort of starting to eat into that lead again.
Yeah, Pollock kind of got himself in a nice little area there as Dirks was leaning on him really hard, but Dirks and Fox got to racing. Now Fox has pulled back up on him, and Brusetti has fallen back a bit.
That's right, which is interesting. I thought Brusetti really had more for these guys, but we may see more from him later in the race. He may be just cooling down his tires right now. As you talked about, it's very hot out, and sometimes your tires get overheated a little bit. You got to back off, let those things cool down, and then make another run at it later.
Again, another good look here at our leader, Hamden. Hamden doing a great job. Right behind him is Pollock. Norman Hamden, by the way, out of Sedona, Arizona. Needless to say, runs in the Arizona region.
And we saw them just go through that real fast sweeper. Witchcraft is what it's called. This track actually has a couple different configurations, and we're running what they call the outer loop, which is actually very quick. NASA sort of looked at running the full track, which I think is over 4 miles, and decided maybe these guys aren't going to get enough laps in if we run the full configuration, so they opted to run the outer loop instead. And I think the guys have been pretty happy with it, but it's a very, very fast course, which is playing into this race because of all the drafting that takes place.
Great look here at these guys. Once again, just kind of settling in here, as you mentioned, a fairly long race as they continue on here, and they are definitely closing the gap on Hamden. I mean, there is no doubt that they are rolling up on him. Pollock, and kind of like what we were talking about, they've all kind of stayed in line here, and they're just slowly picking away as Hamden's out there breaking the wind.
That's right. Every time they go down this line, I think it's 3,500-foot straightaway, Hamden, he loses a little bit more time. They close in another car length, and for a leader like that, it's frustrating because you work so hard to get that lead, and now here he is a challenge for the lead once again.
Amazing, just that quickly. So we thought he was checked out so far, maybe they wouldn't catch him, and here comes Pollock, and the race is on again for the lead.
That's right. We kind of written this thing off. We're thinking maybe it was going to be a race for second, but just like that, Hamden loses it. And but he's not going to let this go. He's challenging Pollock pretty hard.
Pollock really holds it tight there off of turn number 2. There's a little more room to release, but a lot of times it's all about the horsepower of these cars. If you don't need to use all the track, then you don't have to. He's definitely protecting the bottom right there.
Yeah, we've seen this consistently going into Black Rock Hairpin. A lot of times the guy will come out of Scream, which is that sort of turn 3-4 complex, and try and block. And that's what Pollock did, but then it slows you down as you come out of Black Rock, and you can lose time and actually get past going into Knockout or Witchcraft.
Great on board there. Hamden taking a look on the inside. Goes out wide, then chops back down in. That's what he did in that Black Rock hairpin that you were talking about as well, but I thought he did it a little bit too late. He fought for the inside for a long time, and then finally went back out. It cost him a little time.
That's right, Ken, and you could see drop back just a little bit going into Witchcraft, which is that very fast right. Now, as we go through the attitudes, really the challenge there is to drop back enough that you can get a run through the attitudes and then potentially make a pass going into Tooele turn, which is this left coming up right now.
Very fast left-hander here, up on the curb, out again on the curb if need be. As I mentioned before, some of those rumble strips are pretty violent, though.
I love this racing. Top 4 right together. Hamden still challenging for the lead. Pollock, it looks like, is going to hang on to this for a whole lap. This is the longest Pollock's led so far, so he's got to be kind of patting himself on the back as we close down on halfway.
Yeah, and you wonder if Hamden's cars may be going away for some reason at this point. He's definitely fallen off the pace, and I don't see him driving that preferred line that he had before, so maybe the nerves, the pressure, getting him out of his game a little bit.
Could be again, just dropping back, cooling tires a little bit. He may have realized, hey, this is a long race. I can give a little bit of time and relax and maybe just tuck in and chill out for a while. As a driver, a lot of times it's easier to run second than it is to lead.
Dirk still sitting there in third, Fox in fourth. Hamden again, looks like he's content right now with second, but Dirks most certainly is not content with third, and Dirks now on the attack for second place on Hamden.
Yeah, Dirks closing, and also Fox.
Oh!
It's not the place you want to drop a wheel off. Dirks kicking up a little dust on the outside there. And, it looks like Hamden is very quick in that 1, 2, 3 complex. I think his car is really, really good on these long, sweeping corners. And you could see it really closed up there, although he doesn't seem to have quite as much maybe down the straightaway.
Man, he goes way to the inside that time, and now just a little bit back outside and tries it, gets the door slammed on him, though. And here comes Dirk, though, right back underneath him as Dirks went outside in.
That's a tough place to pass, too, because now Dirks is on the outside going into the next corner into right hook, so he'll probably have to tuck back in. In the meantime, Pollock's able to get a little bit of breathing room on these two.
And again, Hamden with the left rear out in the dust, and here comes Dirks taking another look. Yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty tough to pass over there, but what you can do is get in their heads. And here comes Dirks with a great spot as they enter the attitudes.
Yeah, that was key. Hamden just dropping a wheel off there, getting really 2 wheels off. That allowed Dirks to get. Now we're going too wide through the attitudes.
Hamden hangs on to it and forces Dirks wide. Dirks is going to lose a spot because of it. Has to check up to keep the car on the track. And here comes Bruzetti as well.
And Buzetti's finally able to get back in that 4th place spot. Man, Dirks was the big loser there, going for second. Just got hung out to dry through the attitudes, and now he's all the way back to 5th.
And I really thought he had the spot going into attitudes. I thought he would dominate between the two of those guys, but Hamden did not give an inch and forced him out.
And I'm really impressed with Fox, too. You can see him just kind of biding his time. He's been very patient, hasn't dropped a wheel off anywhere. We know he's fast, sat on the pole, and, dropped back a little bit on the start, but he hasn't allowed that to get to him. He's stayed in this race the whole time.
No caution flags as of yet either, so hats off to these guys for a great race. Nice, clean race, as you mentioned before. Another good onboard shot.
And looks like we're going to take a quick break in just a second here, so we'll be right back with more action from the NASA Championships. The National Autosport Association 944 Spec National Championship is brought to you by the competitors of 944 Spec and Toyo Tires, driven to perform.
Welcome back to the National Autosport Association National Championships presented by Toyo Tires. This is the 944 Spec race, and a great battle going on between the top 4 guys. They look a little strung out now, but as we've already seen, that is subject to change here in a lap or two.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll see these guys close back up on each other again, as we've been talking about all day. These cars, these 944 Spec cars, are very close in horsepower, very close in handling. They're all running a Spec Toyo tire, and so as we've seen all day on a fast track like this, it's very hard to break away. So at the moment, Pollock is out in the lead. Neil Hamden's been leading all race long, dropped back to second, but he is not going to let that go. He's closing on Pollock once again.
And the Spec categories are so cool. I mean, keep in mind, you can go buy one of these cars race ready for less than $10,000. Get out here and find out what you're made of. It really comes back to car setup and driver ability in one of these races.
That's right. Once again, on board with Hamden. Gets a little bit wide there. These onboard shots provided by our friends at RaceKeeper. Done a great job bringing out a bunch of cameras for us this weekend.
And you can see there a beautiful job there by Hamden. Downshifting the entry of the turn so you're in the gear that you want to be through the turn, because you need to be picking up the throttle.
That's right, and this complex is these last few corners, they call it clubhouse, wind up, and release. We're into release right now. This is going to lead onto that long 3,500-foot straightaway, so really making sure that you get through those corners, not giving up too much, especially getting into release, is really key because you got to get that long run all the way down.
Yeah, I mean, if you can exit release, carry 1 or 2 mile per hour more at the exit of that, that could be 5 to 7 miles per hour more than your competitor at the end of that long straightaway. It is critical.
Absolutely, and we can see these guys are sort of getting strung out, although Hamden's starting to close back up on the leader. And Buzetti, we were talking about him earlier, he's still running strong in fourth, although he's dropped back a little bit from Fox.
And as you get deeper in these races, you know, everything is getting hot, and it becomes difficult to be more aggressive with it. So it's just the nature of the beast, and if you can make a pass early on and hang on to that position, the chances of keeping that late in the race are a bit better.
And I think the other thing about this is mental fatigue. You know, you run a race like this, for a lot of these guys, they aren't used to running in a race that's, this big, this much pressure, these many good cars. And, a lot of times when you're drafting, you're fighting with each other, it can wear down on you mentally, and you really have to work hard to stay focused, especially in this heat. You start to get dehydrated. A lot of these guys, they're on a budget. They don't have a cool suit. They may not have water in the car. So all that can play into it as well.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, this is a very physical sport. I think a lot of people don't think about that, but when you're inside of one of these things and you have your fire underwear on, you have your fire suit on, smock on your head, the helmet on, it limits your breathing. A lot of times the carbon dioxide will actually stay contained inside of your helmet. It makes you tired. There's a lot of physical necessities that have to be taken care of in a 40-minute long race.
Absolutely, and we're kind of keying on this battle back here for fifth. That white car is Austin Newmark. I believe Evan Green is back there as well.
And Newmark trying to pick up a couple of spots here. Of course, everybody trying to find a spot on the podium. That's the key here. You'd love to win it, but if you can get into the top three, that speaks volumes.
That's right, and we can see, we talked about Dirks and that red car, was really doing well for a while there, ran third for a long time, kind of dropped back, and it's been a challenge for him to get back up again.
Going a little bit deeper in the pack, and another beautiful thing about this class is there's racing no matter where you're at. I mean, you find these guys back here in 7th, 8th, 9th place, all battling for position, so you can have a blast no matter where you're at.
That's right. Evan Bell in that green car challenging Darren Griffith for, I think, 8th or 9th, something like that. Now Griffith coming up, and that's Agustin. We talked about him earlier, that white car with blue racing stripes. Agustin starting back all the way in 10th, moved up and was in 5th for a long time. Now he's having a great battle back there a little bit farther back.
And if you're wondering how close these cars are, I mean, the top 9 cars all within tenths of a second of each other per lap. That's how close it is, and that's why it's so difficult to catch up with somebody.
Sure, I mean, that speaks volumes about the class. I mean, as we all know, racing, there's a million different classes. There's all kinds of different kinds of racing, road racing, circle track, karts, drag racing, yada, yada, yada. But, no matter what the racing, usually you go to an event and there's 1 or 2 guys who are really quick, and then everybody else is just kind of there. And, to be at an event of this caliber, a national championship event, and to see this many cars are quick, it's really a testament to this 944 Spec class and how close it really is. I think, honestly, if you threw the yellow flag right now and bunch these guys all back up, anybody in the top 10 would have a shot at the win.
I agree 100%, and that's what makes it so cool when you get all these regions out here together for this one weekend to king or crown the king, if you will. As we watch another great pass here going in side by side, driving it hard, fan of the tail just a little bit loose right there, and it's going to cost him.
And that was gutsy on Darren Griffith's part.
All right, here we go once again. As you can see, as we go back up to our leaders, Pollock in first, but now second place is Fox. Hamden has fallen back to third place, so Fox just picking away at this thing.
That's right. It's classic Fox, just kind of lays back, real patient, drives a smooth race, and unfortunately he missed it, but while we were watching all that great racing farther back in the pack, Fox now has worked his way up into second.
Great battle of those top 6 guys, all nose to tail now as they're closing this thing back up. It's about to get racy again. We've seen this happen a couple of times. Dirks already sticking a nose in down there on the bottom, back there for 4th.
Yeah, Dirks looking to get back that 4th place spot over Buzetti. And, you got to wonder if maybe Hamden used up a little bit too much of his race car early on trying to break away. He's still quick. He's still able to run the laps, but every once in a while he loses another position, whereas he was probably the fastest car on the track earlier in this race.
And look at Fox, man. Fox really driving it in hard right there. That is Blackrock hairpin. Really closes the gap up.
Yeah, I have to, Pollock is running a real defensive line there regardless of how close the guy behind him is. I might disagree with that a little bit. I think that's, potentially going to burn up those front tires a little bit quicker, and obviously he loses a bunch of time there, and then that puts Fox in a position to attempt to pass while we head into Witchcraft.
Here comes Fox. Fox taking a look on the inside, definitely putting the pressure on, coming into attitude, still out there. We'll see if he crosses back over to try and get back on the inside again. Here he comes. Side-by-side action through the attitudes.
Fox looking really racy there, drops a wheel off, slides a little wide, and that's going to allow Hamden to get on the inside again.
Yeah, that hurt Fox big time right there. Hamden on the inside. Oh, and Hamden way loose right there. Everything he could do to gather that one up.
Man, so Hamden gets sideways. That's going to allow Buzetti to get by. Now Dirks is taking a look on the inside of Hamden. That's what we saw earlier, what happened to Dirks, where he tried to make a pass for second, didn't work out, dropped way back into fifth. Now Hamden's kind of on the opposite end, attempts the same kind of thing and doesn't pull it off, and now he's back in fifth.
Yeah, and late in the race like this, those aggressive moves can be so costly, especially in a momentum class like this. You've got to go for it. That's what it's all about. That's why you're out here. You have to go for it. Boy, I'll tell you, if you get loose at all, you're going to lose at least one, if not more, positions.
That's right. And you got to wonder, for a lot of these guys, they may not run on a track that's this big. Honestly, there aren't that many tracks in the country that are this big and this fast.
And a good look at these guys one more time. You can see Fox hanging on there to second place. Right behind him now is Dirks.
That's actually Buzetti starting to close up. Dirks in fourth place. Buzetti looking very racy, just sort of inching his way up there now, up into third, and looking like he's going to challenge for second here in not too long.
Yeah, Buzetti's really had a great run out here. We saw him kind of close up before, then fall back. Started up towards the front, fell back, closed back up, fell back. Now finds himself in the hunt one more time.
That's right, and Buzetti and Fox, we've talked about this, both of these guys have really shown the kind of patience you need to win here. They've been sort of opportunists at times. You attack when you really know you can take the chance to attack, and they've been patient the rest of the time and just waited for those opportunities to sort of present themselves throughout the race.
We're watching Dirks right there, and Dirks with really a mistake coming into Blackrock hairpin there. Went down, chopped off the apex. It cost him a lot of exit speed, and now he's under attack again to lose another position. There was really no reason for it, but it is kind of a deceiving turn to the guys that are behind the wheel. But at this point of this week, I should say, because they've been out here for so long, you really can't afford that mistake.
And this is key for Hamden, too. Led for so much of the race. We know he's got a fast car, and now he's moved back up into fourth, which is good. He's got a little bit of time to make up. He's got to be real careful not to drop a wheel off, not to start losing time, trying to make up too much time on the racetrack. Just sort of inch it off, because if he doesn't, he could lose this spot permanently.
Getting into the back half of this race here, and this is when the drivers come out. This is when tire pressure setup is critical. Everything's at max temperature, max pressures. We see Buzetti right there. Buzetti closing the gap up on Fox. Both of those guys, though, losing a little bit of ground on Pollock.
Yeah, I like Fox's line through that last corner through release. He sort of goes outside in through there. He's been able to get really good runs down the straightaway that way. But nevertheless, Buzetti is closing, and it looks like he might be ready to pop here as they get to the end of the straightaway.
Yeah, he should have a good run. He is tucked up nice and tight, but it looks like he's going to choose to stay back here, run his line, look for a beautiful spot. Again, just kind of keep the pressure on. Fox looking a little loose right there. Yeah,
Fox kind of tucking the tail out as they come out of that first corner. And, these long, fast sweepers, those are really corners that can eat tires, so you got to be careful about not sliding the car too much in those kinds of corners. Meanwhile, Pollock driving a really good race, hasn't dropped any wheels off, got the lead a few laps back, and, he's been doing a good job. He's still out front, and no one's been able to get back by him.
Yeah, he's really settled into a nice pace. He's going to, looks like he's going to have to go racing here pretty quick, but now Fox going way wide.
And Fox closing up. We talked about that earlier. Pollock not very fast for Black Rock Hairpin. Always loses time there, but then he seems to be able to get out of right hook, just quick enough that no one's been able to get by him yet.
Another look. Here comes Fox. Fox up on the outside here. Pollock's going to protect the inside.
Yeah, Pollock knows it. We saw them get side by side a few laps ago. Pollock remembers that, doesn't want to see it happen again. So he's going to take a little bit of a defensive line, but that's going to slow him down going in.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Oh, man, and he made it look easy. Fox right up in there. 3 wide through attitudes. Are you kidding me? And Buzzetti able to come out in front. Wow, what a turn of events in a matter of a few feet.
Unbelievable, and Fox still there. Fox is going to try and take the lead going into that corner side by side with Buzzetti as they come out. They're going to have a drag race down to the last few corners on the track, and the whole field bunches up.
Yeah, 6 of them all right there, nose to tail, side by side. Again, 3 wide. What a battle here.
And Buzzetti was the winner on that one, man. I mean, he dropped back a little bit. Nobody told him you're not supposed to go 3 wide in the attitudes. He did it, and now he's out front.
Great racing here in the 944 Spec class, NASA National Championships, and Buzzetti, with just a spectacular move through attitudes, takes over the point.
Impressive driving, too, from Pollock, who through all of that sort of rigmarole and back to 5th at one point. He's come out in 2nd, still got his head straight on his shoulders, so positive run for him, and he can sort of tuck back in and try and go to work on Buzzetti. In the meantime, these guys go 3 wide for the 3rd spot.
Fox trying to get back up in there. A great move right there. Dirks, Hamden, and Fox all going 3 wide down the straightaway. Fox gets the position. Here comes Hamden, though, trying to take over 3rd to get back on that podium.
And that was that in the white car. That was Newmark going around the outside in turn 1, so he's going to pick up 4th spot as Fox and Hamden continue to hammer at each other, the 2 gold cars in the field.
Yeah, Newmark's been hanging around back there in 6th place or so, but all of a sudden has become very racy here late in this race.
And Newmark looking real good. In the meantime, Pollock has closed back up on Buzzetti, kind of takes a look in the inside going into Black Rock. Man, it's tough for the camera operators to decide who to focus on. There's just so much good racing through this whole pack.
Really great battle. And this is exactly what we expected in this class. And Pollock this time actually closes up on Buzzetti in that same area where he had been losing ground.
Buzzetti just a little bit wide out of there. Didn't drop a wheel off, though, which is good. Again, you got to keep your head on your shoulders. You got to run for the end of the race, but we're closing down on laps, just a couple laps to go. And, you got to think, if I were anybody in this field right now, I'd want to be Pollock. I'd want to be sitting in that 2nd spot, sort of waiting for Buzzetti to make a mistake.
Buzzetti beautiful right through there.
And we can see Hamden and Fox are closing back up. Hamden all of a sudden looking real racy again, closing back up in 3rd spot. Taking a look at Pollock as they run down this short chute.
Is he up beside him, close enough to take a look here through this left-hander? And yes, matter of fact, he's going to get the spot, at least as of now, through the wind-up. Pollock back in position.
Side by side for these last 3 corners. They're going to go through release side by side again. This is going to put Hamden on the inside, which we've seen can be a little bit hairy because he can lose speed, as we saw right there. Here comes Fox, here comes Pollock. They're going to go 3 wide down the front straightaway.
Pollock trying to keep that momentum up through release. Got a little sideways. That, of course, opened up the door for Fox to get back up in there and play the game. I think Fox might have the big run out of the 3 of them there.
Yeah, Fox certainly on the inside, which is where you want to be going into turn 1. And the big winner in all this is Buzzetti, who's been able to open up just a little bit of a margin on these guys while they're fighting.
What a great battle, man. This is awesome racing here late in this event.
That's right. Buzzetti's just looking in his mirror. Go for it, guys. Fight away. That's what I want to see. I want to be able to build that gap. We've seen, if you can get a gap, you can at least hold on to it for a couple laps, and that's all he needs.
Oh, way out there in the dirt, picking up some marbles. And, again, you mentioned it before. Talk about clean racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're going side by side. Newmark thinking about it. I think that was Hamden that went a little bit wide. Yeah,
Newmark,
Hamden.
yeah, Newmark trying to get a spot here.
Yeah, Hamden, we talked about that earlier. You got to be patient. You got to keep your head on your shoulders, overcook that corner a little bit, and, kind of dropped himself out of the fight. Now Pollock looking at Fox, trying to find a way back around Fox into second.
Newmark settles back in. Dirks back behind him. Dirks, who'd been all the way up into the podium position, now has fallen back considerably, but still in the hunt. I mean, as we've seen, if you're up there close enough to draft, anything can happen. Anything
can happen, man. I mean, these guys could all get together and take each other out, and, Dirks might be in the best spot in the field right now. You just don't know. And, I think this is one of the factors that happens on this track. There's so much dust and there's so much gravel that as more and more cars drop wheels off, the exits of corners start to get dusty. It becomes more slippery as the race goes on, and, it becomes even easier to go off. It's sort of a vicious cycle for these guys. So, sometimes you got to relax a little bit and just remember the track may not have quite as much grip as it did early on.
Pollock dropping down there to protect the position once again, right behind Fox. Hamden in fourth place, right behind Pollock. Newmark in the white car there, and Newmark's car looking a little loose there on the entry.
Laps are winding down. I think white flag is out, so one lap to go for Buzzetti. He's got a lead, couple car lengths. You can see Fox in second, Pollock in third. Can they close? They've got to close up down this long straightaway to be in a position to pass towards the end of the race.
Nerves setting in big time for the drivers right here, knowing they need to be perfect. Pollock taking a look on Fox. Fox with a nice smooth arc through there. A little wide though. Plenty of room here to set back up for turn two.
And poor Fox, I mean, he's just got to be saying to Pollock, relax, back off of me. I've got to catch up with Buzzetti. I've still got a shot at this thing, but if they get to battling for second, he'll lose that chance.
And Hamden right on the back bumper of Pollock now, wanting to get back up in a podium position. Here we go. Game on, baby.
This has been a passing spot earlier. Blackrock hairpin. See Fox running a defensive line. Pollock looking on the inside, not able to get it done. Hamden right there as well, trying to take advantage. Meantime, Buzzetti still has that 2 or 3 car lengths he needs.
I really thought Hamden would come out of there a little bit better, but he went so wide, Pollock was able to hang on to it. Buzzetti with a beautiful line so far.
Yeah, Buzzetti's just got to just hang together, man. This is the time in the race you start listening for stuff in the car. Does the engine sound okay? Do the tires feel okay? You're sort of checking everything, hoping that you can make it to the end. Really, there's one more passing opportunity going into Clubhouse. The key for Buzzetti is getting out of the attitudes well, getting through Tooele turn well, and you can see Fox is right on his bumper here. Fox is closing.
Yeah, Fox is going to have one more shot at this. If he can pull it off, oh man, backs it into the turn. That's a mistake. It's going to cost him, quite possibly cost him the race right there.
That was it. That was key. Buzzetti got a real good run in there. Fox just trying to overcook it a little bit. Got the ass end out, and he will drop back. He's just not going to be able to get it done.
So Buzzetti with 2 turns to go here, wind up and release. If he can drive it smooth, should be able to hang on here and win the 944 Spec class.
Just one more corner to go. Comes out of release. Nice lead. Doesn't drop a wheel off. Exactly what Buzzetti needs. Fantastic race for him. Checkers are out, and Buzzetti's going to come home with the win.
Congratulations to Charles Buzzetti. Excellent job coming out of the California Southern region. Will be the winner here in the 944 Spec class. Great race throughout.
Yeah, James Fox will come home second. Norman Hamden will come home third. Joseph Pollock fourth. So David Dirks is going to come home fifth. David Wright sixth. Richard Lofgren is seventh. Darren Griffith eighth. Tom Inwald ninth. And Steve Agustin, we talked about him earlier, coming home in the 10th spot. The National Autosport Association 944 Spec National Championship is brought to you by the competitors of 944 Spec and Toyo Tires, driven to perform.